You're watching ABC7 News at 7.
Something needs to be done. It really does. And it seems like we're being put on the back burner, and it's not fair, and it's not right.
Residents of public housing in Newtown aren't happy with poor living conditions. The city wants to rebuild the apartments, but the state says no. Why? Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on public housing in Newtown in a moment, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. It has been a whirlwind for the head coach of Venice High School's football team, from winning a state championship to getting fired and now rehired. Coach John Peacock has been on one heck of a roller coaster over the past few months. ABC7's Dwayne Lindo has been following this story and is here with the latest. Dwayne.
Well, Alan, that's right. Venice High School's principal, Eric Jackson, made the announcement this morning to bring back Coach Peacock, who was fired back on April 25th for liking a tweet considered to be racist in nature. Now, with the reinstatement, Coach Peacock says he's just humbled getting a second chance.
You know, obviously when you lose something, you become a little bit more grateful for it once you get it back.
In the 2-month span without a job, Coach John Peacock says he learned a life lesson after liking a former player's tweet directed at Braden River coach Kurt Bradley.
I think it's an opportunity for me to kind of reinvent myself, and I think we all strive to have self-improvement in all kinds of areas, and yeah, it's something I look forward to working on.
Also saying he went as far as making amends.
There's no hard feelings towards anybody. You know, me and Coach Bradley have had multiple conversations since the incident, and you know, we're just all looking to move forward in a positive direction right now.
And part of that right direction for Peacock includes going through social media and sensitivity training. He will also be suspended for 3 weeks to start the 2018 season. Bill Buck Chevrolet dropped its sponsorship of the program, and the dealership's owner started a petition to have Peacock reinstated as coach. Sales manager Monty Jacobs says everything is right in the world now that he's back.
Anybody that's been around any kind of athletics knows that tradition is very important. Consistency, tradition, dedication, and effort, and John Peacock, he helps with all that. The kids love him.
As Peacock mentioned, both coaches made amends, but I got to tell you, Alan, it'll be interesting to see if this long-standing rivalry between Braden River and Venice goes into overdrive.
Dwayne, thank you. You're a busy guy, and you'll be back in just a few minutes with an ABC 7 at 7 exclusive investigation. In other news, a man is in police custody for allegedly stealing a car out of a shopping center. According to Bradenton Beach Police, Rick Rowland approached a man putting away his groceries and started hitting him until he gave him his keys. Then he drove the car towards the North Bridge on Longbow Key, causing a 4-car accident before he abandoned the car and started running. Police say the drivers in the accidents caught him and held him down until police got there. Rowland is charged with carjacking and battery. A man is still on the loose tonight after allegedly abducting his ex-girlfriend, and Palmetto police say he is armed and dangerous. This 34-year-old Alfred Francundo, police say Francundo used his red Dodge to stop his former girlfriend's white Hyundai on the 500 block of 9th Street in Palmetto. He allegedly hit her, then forced her into his car before taking off to the Skyway Bridge. When Facundo pulled onto a rest area, the victim jumped out of the car and got help from a nearby Florida Highway Patrol trooper.
He did hit her. He grabbed her hair and yanked her out of the car. He had a gun on him too. Yeah, he had a gun on him. And she was saying stop at first, yelling and screaming and all that. But, you know, and then from right there, I stopped. Like, she stopped saying stop because I couldn't hear her because she was in the car.
Police say they found Facundo's car at his family's house in Bradenton, but he was not there. If you see him, you are asked to call 911 immediately. An update now from Sarasota police. A teenager is being charged with murder after a drive-by shooting last weekend in Newtown. Police say witnesses led them to 17-year-old Anarist Taylor on North Orange Avenue. He is accused of shooting a man Sunday afternoon on Lemon Avenue. Police say drugs are believed to be a factor. Taylor is now facing charges of murder with a firearm. Remember the grandmother accused of killing her husband and a Bradenton woman? Well, Well, officials in Lee County say a grand jury in Florida is indicting Lois Reese on first-degree murder. Reese is accused of murdering Pamela Hutchison in Fort Myers in April. Police say she killed Hutchison in an attempt to steal her identity while on the run after killing her husband in Minnesota. Reese escaped to Texas before she was eventually arrested.
It was endless and tireless work that led us here today for that indictment. We hope that this indictment can help bring closure to the family of our victim.
Reese will be arraigned Monday. If convicted, she could face the death penalty. With the 2018 hurricane season now here, insurance companies are reminding customers to double-check their coverage before a storm approaches. Hurricane deductibles are often high and are typically separate from standard deductibles for other claims. Flood claims are not covered by homeowners or renters policies, and flood insurance takes 30 days to kick in, making it too late to purchase once a storm is near.
You really need to look at your policy before storm season, make sure you know who your carrier is, know what your coverage is, know what your obligations are, and know how to file a claim.
Last year, Hurricane Irma led to more than $6.5 billion worth of insured losses and nearly 1 million claims. Now let's head over to ABC7's Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan with the first alert forecast. Bob.
And speaking of that, Barrow may not be far behind. I wanted to show you this in that story as a result of hurricanes, a forecast for the GFS. This is Wednesday, June 6th, but I'm going to take you through time. And by the time we get to the end of this, you'll start to see that there's a little system that the GFS is suggesting coming out of the Caribbean. That's right. Shows another system possibly in the Gulf next week. Specifically, there it is on June 14th. So next Thursday. This has been rather consistent too over the past couple of runs. It's showing a tropical system developing there and heading pretty much where Alberto went. So we'll keep an eye on it. There's still a long way off to go, and the Canadian model has picked up on that, but the European has not. So we'll keep an eye on it. We have some better news on the hurricane season as well coming up a little bit later. Tower cam this evening. Skies have, for the most part, clear. We have some high cirrus clouds running around, but we are anticipating a nice sunset tonight. Should be gorgeous out there. No real threat of any significant rainfall. We had some pretty big rain earlier pushing off from the west to the east. There's still some energy out there in the Gulf of Mexico, but that again is not all that strong at this point. We will start to see some showers move through tomorrow morning. That rain chance pretty small though for us to see some coastal showers tomorrow morning. So Alan, not too bad. A few showers around today, but all in all, we went unscathed.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
You bet.
Now for an ABC7 at 7 exclusive. Is the state of Florida using laws involving historic designations as a reason for stopping Sarasota from tearing down an old dilapidated housing project in Newtown and standing in the way of a new one? ABC7's Dwayne Lindo joins us with the story. Dwayne.
Well, Alan, if you talk to many of the residents there, they certainly think the state is impeding the process. But the state says it's a process that they have to go through, and more importantly, they're following federal law.
From the start, this door won't stay shut.
In the 2 years Jennifer Sneppinger has lived in Orange Avenue Public Housing, her door has been the least of her problems.
And this is all the mold in the bathroom. All the light switches, the sockets, they're like blown. And these windows were shot by a BB gun, and they still haven't been fixed.
In addition to structural problems, she says there are also health issues.
The mildew, the moisture. Me and my son been sick ever since we moved in.
It's a complex built back in 1942, initially to provide African-American housing in the city during segregation. But fast forward 75 years later, Sarasota Housing Authority President William Russell says the development is old and needs to be replaced.
It is well beyond its useful life. It's distressed. And so in cases like this all over the country, housing authorities partner with the developer, they get funding, HUD approves the demolition of it and redevelopment of housing back in its place.
And while Sneppinger and more than 50 other families endure deplorable conditions, the Sarasota Housing Authority has been applying for funding over the past decade.
We were finally able to secure an award of 9% housing tax credits and that provides, the bulk of the equity and the funding that we need to redevelop it.
A total of around $12 million from Housing and Urban Development, but there's a roadblock.
The State Historic Preservation Office has made a determination that it has historical significance and that demolishing these residential buildings would have an adverse effect.
The Florida State Historic Preservation Office says in a statement, ensuring that this piece of local history is documented or preserved is a process that is required. In other words, it may be dilapidated, but it's a historic landmark. Also saying Newtown Heights is considered historically significant to Sarasota as the first public housing development completed by the Sarasota Housing Authority and one of the oldest in the state. As required under federal law, the Division of Historical Resources is actively working with the Sarasota Housing Authority and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to formulate a plan that supports development priorities while also ensuring the important piece of local history is documented or preserved. But Russell says the two state agencies involved are not aligned.
On one hand, we have one state agency that's funding the redevelopment. And on the other hand, we have another state agency that's saying, not so fast.
When asked if he thought the department was making things difficult, he just smiled.
Well, residents in this community obviously upset, while it seems like politics are just being played out.
All right, Dwayne, thank you. In the moment, the vice chair of the Sarasota Housing Authority, a resident of Newtown Heights, and the woman helping bring this to light on the trapezoid.
Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, what was once impossible is happening today for thousands of patients with blood cancer.
I live.
I live. I live. I live.
I live.
She lives.
Because of the research done by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the battle against blood cancer.
If you had a chance to support the research that is saving lives, what would you do?
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score. It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach. Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Since 1972, Sleep King has provided quality mattresses and accessories at the best discounted prices available. Top brands like Simmons, Sealy, Serta, Beautyrest, iComfort, and more. With available free delivery, free financing, and free setup and removal. For a comfortable night's sleep with same-day delivery, even if we have to carry it on our backs. Trust Sleep King of Sarasota. Buy it today, sleep on it tonight.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
They are the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen. But what does it take to bridge the distance and keep them connected to family, home, and country? What does it take to strengthen our service members so they can be the greatest force for good in the world? It takes a force. Be a force behind the forces. Give today at force.uso.org.
All hands on deck.
What's up?
I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely.
Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Welcome back. Is the state of Florida playing games with Sarasota's efforts to replace old, dilapidated public housing by designating it a historic landmark? Hey, who isn't for preserving history, right? But when it's a monument to segregation in Sarasota, the first public housing in Sarasota built specifically for the African American community in 1942, when the Florida Department of State writes, quote, the 13 original buildings appear to retain a high degree of character and integrity, the obvious question has to be, has anyone been to Newtown Heights? Here's another question. Is it a pretext to stop the city from using federal money to build a new modern public housing project? And joining us for more are Whitney Douglas, a resident of Newtown Heights, Dave Morgan, the vice chair of the Sarasota Housing Authority, and Susan Nylon, who helped bring this situation to light. And Susan, we got to thank you for this, because this is absolutely incredible. I mean, I can't understand what they're talking about, that the 13 original buildings appear to retain a high degree of historic character and integrity. I think keeping people in unair-conditioned apartment that you cannot do renovations that have, in some cases, mold is anything in terms of integrity, Dave. You folks seem to be knocking your heads against the wall in terms of moving this project along.
Yeah, the State Housing Preservation Office, they've now been the roadblock. So we have one piece of the state that is giving us funds, and then we have one office that basically has said, we find that this is historic. And every time that we can document or show them that it's not, they give us something else to do. And so we were just running into roadblocks.
Let's be clear about something. In the 1940s, when this project was built, this was built for the African American community in the Newtown area. There were other public housing projects for the white community in other areas.
So you got to remember in the 40s, there really were. There would be a white development, and in the 40s they would say this is Negro housing. That's actually what they would call it.
So what happened to the historic buildings that made up the white public housing?
Torn down.
And improved upon.
And improved upon. So a lot of the housing from the 80s, it's been torn down, or they're being torn down. So you know, this is a relic of segregation, and we're trying to get rid of that.
Whitney, you saw some of your neighbors there basically make their case. How difficult is it to live in these apartments, especially this time of year when it's really starting to heat up? There are basically jerry-rigged air conditioning units that have been changed over the years. You used to have actually window units. What happened with those?
They did away with them. They said it was a fire hazard and gave us the portable ones that have the holes that go into the window. They work, but we don't have one for every room.
And that's just part of the problem. As I mentioned, there are problems with mold and other things that describe it for us.
Well, there's mold in the bathrooms, and I try to keep it down by spraying it with bleach and mold cleaner. You know, it's real hot in there, and then it gets, however it feels outside, that's how it's going to feel in the inside. So like in the wintertime, it's cold in the inside because we don't have the heaters either. So it's like you're outside.
Alan, you got to realize too, the walls are so thick, and the way they're made, you can't even change out the window to modernize the window. You can't put better insulated equipment into that just to improve upon the facility itself, just because of the way it's made.
How did you find out about this?
You know, I got a tip, I started digging into it, and I uncovered it, and I at first when I read the letter, I was like, okay, well this sounds absolutely fine, because I'm big on historic preservation, until I did a little check of the buildings, and then I remembered what these buildings were, and so I just decided I had to do a little bit more digging.
I guess the question is, why has it taken so long for this to really, you know, become a public issue? I mean, we have not heard about this before.
You know, and I'm curious myself, because I've been around Sarasota for over 40 years, and this is the first time I've heard this, but...
So we have been applying for funding for well over a decade, and, you know, the funds that we got, there are these 9% tax credits, and they're very competitive, and so we can apply every year, and we finally secured the funding for it.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more on Newtown Public Housing right after we check the first alert weather, so stay with us.
Hi, I'm Chef Bob. Watch Aprons in the Kitchen every Wednesday morning on ABC7. where we'll be serving up the most awesome dishes. Then stop by your neighborhood Publix, pick up the recipe card and all the ingredients.
Thank you.
What are you doing?
You are the best protection she has. Buddy up. I'm Jill Harrington. Please visit helpsavethenextgirl.com and get involved.
In life after the military, it's our duty as veterans to have each other's back. I'm retired Colonel Greg Gatson, and it's my mission to help you get the benefits and services you've earned. If you need to file a VA claim, remember these important steps. Submit an online claim through ebenefits.va.gov. Work with an accredited Veteran Service Organization, or VSO. And if you need to attend a VA claim exam, please go. Visit this website to learn what to expect.
Our nation's servicemen and women show great courage and leadership, both on and off the battlefield. When they transition to civilian life, they can apply the skills and values they learned in the military to the workplace. That's why the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes is urging employers everywhere to be smart, bet on a vet. Hiring a veteran is also a great way to show your appreciation for them. To learn more, call 1-888-44-SALUTE.
Each day, researchers make discoveries that bring us closer to the moment when all cancer patients can become survivors. Their progress is made possible with the help of clinical trials. Clinical trials are the brightest torch researchers have to light their way towards better treatments. And if you've been diagnosed with cancer, they may be your brightest ray of hope. Speak with your doctor and visit standuptocancer.org/clinical trials to learn more. Together, we can stand up for all of us.
My goal every day when I come into work at ABC7 is to tell your stories, give you that major local news and those details that you really care about. I'm Jacqueline Matter, and I'm here for you.
Our conversation on Newtown Heights continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan.
Alan, thanks. So this morning we had this little piece of energy out here in the Gulf of Mexico, which made its way across our region, bringing with it a few showers, a few isolated thunderstorms. And we're going to show you one of those lightning strikes that hit a flagpole a little bit later in this newscast. You can see that area moving right through outflow boundaries, producing some moderate winds up to 30 to 40 miles an hour at times, occasional lightning strikes, but all that energy has shifted off to the east now, but there's still a little bit out there. You can still see some cloudiness out there, a few storms well off the range of the radar, but they're out there, and they're going to be working off toward the east overnight, so there's a chance for a few spotty showers, especially after midnight tonight, and then a few more around right around sunrise tomorrow. Casey Key showing beautiful weather out there for a nice sunset this evening as skies have cleared partially, and the storms are well off in the distance there, so not a big factor as far as any rainfall goes if you're going for an evening walk on the area beaches. And you can see that rainfall well out into the Gulf. It has been weakening, but still some of them holding together right now, so that rain chance at 40% for a few morning showers on Thursday. But all in all, things have calmed down considerably here along the west coast of Florida. Not everyone got in the act of rainfall today, like Sarasota didn't see much at all, but near the airport they did get a little bit of rainfall there, just over 1/10 of an inch. Braden a little bit more than that, and as well as in the parish, and then north end of Lombo Key right up to Anna Maria Island, and then down south Northport also had a few showers even into Venice. Now the forecast I mentioned tomorrow looks to be not as warm of a start tomorrow morning due to the rain we had today. 76 will be a good starting temperature for Thursday. A chance for a few showers, but still will be some sunshine around. And then maybe a little reprieve by 3 o'clock with some redevelopment inland mainly at 7 o'clock, temperatures into the upper 80s. Now the dry air that had been in place is really kind of shifting out to the south and thinning out a bit. This is in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. We have this trough of low pressure all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico. This isn't typical for June, but it's there. And we'll continue to see this trough stick around for the next couple of days, and every once in a while a little piece of energy rotates around this trough and moves right into the west coast. So the rain chance will stay 40% both Thursday and Friday, coming down a little bit over the weekend as this high pressure starts to reposition itself once again by the weekend, moving off to the east and kind of building in. But right now, as it's down to our south and the wind's rotating in a clockwise fashion, will bring us a chance for a few coastal showers in the morning and into the early afternoon. Then the main focus, like today, will be inland, pushing off toward the east coast. This little stationary front will fade away too. We have a weak little low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico, which is kind of hanging around there too, and that'll bring us that chance for rainfall for the next couple of days. Now, as far as the forecast goes, we are not anticipating anything too significant over the weekend, as that high pressure will be the dominating influencing feature for us. Tomorrow, I mentioned a few showers are possible in the morning. That activity, again, pushing off basically to the east and not doing a whole lot as far as bringing a long period of heavy rainfall, but we will see some showers produce some moderate rainfall. Then this area out here, there's that little weak spin right there, which will send some energy our way even on Friday morning, bringing with it a chance for a few showers on Friday. Less action over the weekend, but we will still see some scattered storms, I think, mainly in the afternoon and evening. 7-day forecast. Here it is, 40% chances through Friday. It drops a little bit over the weekend. Should be a nice weekend. We'll look for partly cloudy skies. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, just a slight chance for showers. High temperatures still close to seasonal averages. We'll have much more coming up a little bit later on the tropics. Alan will be back with his guests right after this. Stick around.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score. It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach. Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think, I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Dear parents, it's time for a pop quiz. What's the best kind of play for kids? Play that makes us think? Or helps us pretend? Or teaches us rules? Or to be creative? Actually, every kind of play is important because different kinds of play give us different kinds of skills. Help us mix up the ways we play. Okay, class dismissed. Now go play.
Zupan, part of the U.S. Paralympic rugby team. In my game, movement is everything. I get frustrated when my move is blocked, especially when that guy has no right to be there, even just for a minute. I love a challenge, but I don't like to play this game every day.
A message from the United Spinal Association.
I'll be right back.
I just need a second.
Is your weight holding you back and affecting your health?
Did you see this? Your cousin had a heart attack.
Really?
Excess weight or obesity can be serious, but you can do something about it. Visit yourweightmatters.org. Download the free toolkit to prepare you to speak with a healthcare provider. Your weight does matter. Accept the challenge and take charge today. Visit yourweightmatters.org.
I am the resident district manager on the FAU campus for Chartwell. Whenever I see Haley, I do not see a person with a disability. I see a person with extraordinary abilities. Haley is always smiling. She's always on time. She gives fantastic customer service and is always focused on any job that she's given.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Growing up, my mom was afraid of the water, something she did not want me to feel.
So I enrolled Missy in swim lessons.
It changed my life.
Missy Franklin.
And now you can do the same for someone that you love.
There's nothing more precious than your child's well-being.
So act now before it's too late.
Make us fly! I'm glad I did.
Thanks, Mom. Visit usaswimmingfoundation.org to find, get, or give a swim lesson.
Welcome back. We are talking about the state of Florida's efforts to protect an old, dilapidated housing project in Newtown by designating it an historic landmark. Joining us for more are Whitney Douglas, a resident of Newtown Heights, Dave Morgan, the vice chair of the Sarasota Housing Authority, and Susan Nylon, who helped bring this situation to light. And David, I want to get back to something that was in the Department of State's letter, saying that the 13 original buildings appear to retain a high degree of historic character and integrity. You work with HUD. You travel the U.S. looking at public housing projects.
Yep.
Is there any difference between this one and others that you see around the same age around the country?
No, it seemed like one architect had made the design, and they just kept replicating it over and over again all across the United States.
So there is nothing unique.
It's just old. It's just one of the older ones, is what I'm guessing. But
so let's cut to the chase here.
Sure.
Is somebody playing a game here?
You know, I can't figure out. I cannot figure out for the life of me why Timothy Parsons has decided to kind of keep putting us through these hoops, and there's nothing historical about this. There's nothing that we want to preserve about this, and you know, this is our last roadblock in this in our redevelopment efforts.
You know, and we should point out, we did reach out to Timothy Parsons and the Florida Department on State to take part in this broadcast and to also talk to Dwayne when he put together the story. They provided a statement, but nothing more than that. You know, Whitney, as somebody who has lived there for several years, I would imagine that there is, you know, growing frustration amongst you and your neighbors in terms of, you know, the federal funds have been assigned. The city wants to do something about it, and this office within the Department of State seems to be putting, as Dave says, a lot of roadblocks up.
Right, and it's going to be kind of hectic if we don't get to move right now, because school will be starting back, and I have 3 kids, one in high school, one in middle school, and one in elementary school, and I'll also be starting school in September, nursing school, so I wish they hurry up. Get it done now.
You're trying to do the right thing. You're going to nursing school, your kids are getting an education, you want a better life for them, but because of whatever circumstances, you're trapped in a dilapidated public housing project that your community has the money to replace, and for some reason, and the will, and for some reason the state is an impediment.
Right, it's going to be hectic trying to move and do all that if they don't hurry up and get it done.
I just want to say, because you mentioned earlier the letter, the problem is the words on the page mean nothing to that individual. He has no connection or any interest in actually finding out what he's deemed historic. I can't imagine anyone who would actually come to this property and say, yes, this is something not only that we need to preserve it, but we need to insist that people live in. And if it was really truly historic preservation, you want to save a single building to mark that point in time, then do that. But don't insist that people live in it just because you want to hold on to a piece of history that, frankly, we should all, you know,
right. And by the same token, if Dave, if you are saying that the public housing projects of, you know, similar design in Sarasota meant for the white community, built around the same time, have long been torn down, then, you know, how much weight?
And it's not just even in Sarasota. I mean, this is across the United States. Is, you know, we're seeing these 80-year-old buildings. They're old. I mean, they're old and they're worn out, and it's from, you know, 80 years ago, and it's time to go.
All right, so let's talk about who is doing what about this. Susan, you are also with the ACLU. The ACLU is getting involved.
Well, we have a local meeting tomorrow that we're going to talk about it and take a look at this, because I'm personally concerned about the civil rights that are involved in this, the selection of the fact that this particular property, for really no significant reason, is being kept, and people are forced to live in it. There's a lot of concern.
And Dave, you say that you've talked to the NAACP.
So Our housing authority had reached out, and they gave us some verbal support today, and they're going to take a more in-depth look at what's going on. We've had the community, really anybody in Sarasota that's seen what we're doing, we have not had any pushback. And actually everybody's been extremely supportive.
Whitney, what have you and other residents done? Have you tried to organize and try to bring attention to what this situation is, or do you kind of feel like you're caught as a, basically a player in somebody else's decision making?
Well, there's not much we can do. We just, go by what they tell us. I don't know. We put complaints in and go to the office and, put in the work orders for stuff that's, breaking down all the time and stuff. But other than that, I don't think it's much we can do.
Right. So this project, or a new project, is over 70% federal money, but there is also state money involved here. So the obvious questions would be, have you contacted your Congressman Vern Buchanan about this? Have you contacted state legislators who would hold sway over the Department of State?
And that's one of the things that we're going to have to start doing is now getting our politicians involved and give them something to do and really kind of help us with this issue, because it's one state office, and one state office is giving us money, the Housing Finance Corporation, and then the office, they call it SHPA, but the Housing or Historic Preservation Office is holding us back.
Susan, you've been an active member of this community for many years. Have you ever seen anything quite like this?
I haven't, actually. I mean, I've seen people get behind historical buildings. I myself have supported quite a few of them of preserving them. However, they were never buildings that people were forced to live in. They were never dilapidated buildings, and we always measured the money that we could raise to restore a single building to represent it.
And one of the things, what they're trying to apply is, so in Birmingham, when the civil rights were getting started in the Birmingham, Alabama, they're trying to apply the same historic significance to Sarasota as their Birmingham, Alabama.
And it just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense to us.
We don't have this historical ties to that piece of the history.
So, Whitney, I'm going to give you an opportunity here. If there's anything you wanted to say to this Timothy Parsons, the Director of the Division of Historic Resources at the Department of State, on behalf of yourself, your family, and your neighbors, what would that be?
Tear them down, please, hurry up, and so we can get out of there. People who don't want to stay there shouldn't have to be forced to live there. I don't want to be there anymore. I'm glad I've had the opportunity to be in one, but it's time to go.
Okay, we'll have to leave our conversation right there. We have to take a break. We have to take a quick break, and we'll be back for final thoughts in just a moment.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Dotoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
If you think it's hot outside, just wait until you see even hotter savings inside. Only at Rugs As Art Hot Summer Savings Sale event will you find the lowest prices on a vast selection of stunning rugs, furniture accents, and accessories. This special event only happens once a year, so hurry in before the best selections are gone. The Hot Summer Savings event ends soon, so don't miss out on the best prices ever. Rugs As Art, Sarasota's only area rug superstore.
I used to dread getting up and going to work.
I was done with the corporate grind.
I was tired of being a starving artist.
And I started looking around for a business that I believed in, and I kind of wanted to do something a little more green.
My SCORE mentor helped me take the first step.
He helped me create a business plan and helped me implement it.
They've really taught me how to think big.
SCORE helped me to make the unimaginable possible, all for free. I'm here because of SCORE.
I'm here because of SCORE.
Get your free business mentor at score.org.
To be able to just get my son here and not think about how we will pay for it, it just takes so much weight off of my family. St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
There's a lot of fear in coming back to school. I'm a 40-year-old man that walked in there to get his high school diploma. It was very hard for me, but one of the teachers was Miss Araceli. She gave me direction. Every single time I had a question, she'll put down whatever she's doing and she'll sit there with you until you get it. 50% of getting your high school diploma is walking through those doors. The other 50% is doing the work.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. So Susan, what do you want people to walk away with in terms of watching this? Because a lot of people watch this broadcast and they like to weigh in on their opinions about public housing and whatever. What would you like them to know?
Well, I would like them to know that it's one thing to preserve our history. It's another thing to hold on to something that doesn't have that value. Not to let it go. Not to just assume that because this doesn't touch their lives that this isn't important. And I also think I'd like to invite Mr. Parsons to actually come and spend a couple of days at this property. Maybe spend the night in here in the middle of August and find out what it's like to be enclosed in a property that you just can't breathe at night because there's no air circulation going on.
You mentioned Timothy Parsons here. We're going to put his telephone number up on the screen, and if you folks feel like you would like to, you might want to give him a call. Timothy Parsons, the Director of Division of Historical Resources. His telephone number is 850-245-6344. Again, Timothy Parsons with the Division of Historical Resources, 850-245-6344. And I would imagine that, Dave, if you talk to him tomorrow, he would say, thanks a lot, Dave.
And I would say, you're welcome.
Do your job.
Do your job. And, at the Housing Authority, we want to provide quality housing, safe housing, and, we want to give what's best for our residents and the best opportunities.
Answer your own statement there. Is this safe? This housing at this point safe, and is it quality?
In my opinion, we need to tear it down, and we want to get we want to get it torn down. We want to get it redeveloped. We want to get something new and modern in there, and we want to make sure people can get their vouchers and they can go find.
And I was quick to say, these families, they can move right away as soon as they get permission. They don't even have to wait until the building gets torn down in order for them to move to a better place.
Right.
He just has to sign off on it. That's it.
And so, Whitney, what would you like people to walk away with this conversation from?
Call Dave Parsons. The number is on the screen, and please call him and harass him.
All right, I think
In a nice way.
we'll
Yes.
leave it there. Thank you all. FYI, you can watch past discussions on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. And for the latest on local breaking news, don't forget to download the updated version of our app. If your current app doesn't work, it's expired, just go to the App Store and re-download it by searching for WWSB or My Suncoast. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight. Whitney Douglas is a resident of Newtown Heights. Dave Morgan is the Vice Chair of the Sarasota Housing Authority, and Susan Nylon helped bring this situation to light. When we return, President Trump handing out another pardon today after being convinced by Kim Kardashian West. Really, we're not making it up. But right now, let's get a final check on our first alert forecast from Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Thanks, Alan. We have had some stormy weather earlier that has since blown out of here, and things looking pretty good, but not that good for Megan, or Meg Freely, who is down visiting her Nana, she says, on Nokomis Beach. She sent this photo in. She was watching the news and sent it to pics at mysuncoast.com. That it looks rather ominous, but things have changed drastically now. Here's a shot of the Casey Key webcam showing the skies have cleared for the most part. There's still some around, but no threatening storm clouds like we saw earlier. There are some clouds well off into the Gulf and a few showers well out there too. I do expect some redevelopment of some light rainfall later on this evening, and even during the early morning hours there's a chance for some showers. This is Titan radar taking you through time over the past several hours. You can see those big storms firing up, brought some brief periods of moderate to heavy rainfall, even occasional lightning strikes now and again. And that heavy weather now well east of the state, moving over the northern Bahamas now. A few showers down south, just west of Marco Island. But notice there's still a little bit of action out there. That would indicate that, yes, we still have a little piece of energy we have to work on through for the overnight and tomorrow morning. But for the time being, things are great. If you're driving around, going out to eat, or maybe a walk or a bike ride, should not be a problem as far as any kind of heavy rainfall goes. You can see there were spotty showers today. Not everyone got in the act. Venice had a little bit of rain. Osprey, Nokomis, also some showers there. Bradenton Parish, and even in the Anna Maria Island had a little bit of a brief downpour there for a while, right around the noon hour. Day planner looks like this. Scattered showers are possible during the morning. Again, low temperatures won't be as warm, into the mid-70s, still above average, though. Our average low, 71, 88 the high tomorrow, and maybe a little reprieve right around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll see, I think, a shift of inland storms later on in the day. Water vapor imagery, one thing we learned from this is that we watch this in the upper levels of the atmosphere to see where the ridges are and the troughs are. And there's a trough of low pressure right here. It's counterclockwise. You can see that's how we know it's a trough. And the west flow moves right into Florida. That's not typical for summer. Usually we see that east to southeasterly wind flow around that area of high pressure located off the Bermuda coast. But since it's down here, things are kind of discombobulated, if you will. And I think we'll get back into more of a high pressure system position in southeast of the state on Saturday and Sunday, which will mean a little bit better chance for afternoon and evening storms, but the rain chance is actually going down over the weekend. Well, here's the futurecast. As I mentioned, a little weak, a low pressure spinning in the mid-levels of the atmosphere right there. You can see it rotating once in a while, throwing a few showers our way. Most of the action in the inland areas in the afternoon and evening, but morning showers are a possibility. It's still there, according to this model, hanging around on Friday morning. I think we will still see a few showers with a west wind, and that's what we're going to see. There's always that possibility of a few morning showers, even into the early afternoon near the coast, and then the best chances develop later on in the day as that whole system kind of passes off to the east. But it's not going to do much. I think the high pressure will win out and beat that up and dissipate that in time for the weekend. Well, I wanted to get to this. We talked about this earlier in the newscast. These are water temperatures across the Atlantic Basin. And you'll notice the yellows and greens way out here off the coast of Africa and throughout much of the central Atlantic. And then here over the Gulf of Mexico and the Western Caribbean. That's where things are warmest now in the Western Caribbean. And that's typically where you look for storms to develop. As I alluded to, the GFS is starting to pop something up there. These temperatures here are unusually cold. They don't usually get this cold early on in the season, and they are. Temperatures are running about 5 to 8 degrees below average and below last year's readings when we saw those massive hurricanes develop. Again, that's much cooler than average. In fact, it just came out today. This is going to be the second coldest on record of the main development region. This is where most of the hurricanes develop since 1982. That's a really good thing. If it sticks around, and I think it may, because it takes a long time for water temperatures to actually respond to the sun. And if that's the case during the main part of the season into September and October, or even in August, we would have fewer storms and fewer intense storms due to that cooler than average water temperature there. Here's the GFS forecast. Speaking of storms, GFS is popping something up again. Looks like next week around Thursday and Friday, there it is, the GFS suggesting another tropical cyclone moving through the central Gulf of Mexico and headed right toward where Alberto went. We'll see how it plays out. The European, by the way, not suggesting that. And in fact, here is the European. So if the European doesn't do it, we're not too sold on the idea quite yet. If they both kind of indicate a tropical system developing, then certainly we'd have more confidence in that model of the GFS, but that isn't happening right now. And as you can see, this is Monday of next week, and as we go through time, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, not showing anything in the western Gulf of Mexico. Well, here's the boating forecast. Seas will be running less than 2 feet for the most part. We'll see a few showers in the morning you may have to dodge, but generally okay. Light chop on the bays and inland waters. And as far as the forecast goes, the 7-day, well, 40% chance for showers on Thursday, Friday. It lessens on Saturday and changes the timing, I think, mainly late in the afternoon and evening. And then we'll see a 30% chance for those late day showers and storms right through Wednesday. And we'll be watching, obviously, the tropics very closely next week. Alan will be back with primetime headlines right after this.
My credit score was not that great.
I didn't understand what went into my credit score.
It was overwhelming.
Do you want to attain better credit health but don't know where to start? Credit Sesame can help by providing you a free credit score.
I love the app. It's so easy to use. It's like having your own financial coach.
Credit Sesame broke my credit score down into things that I understood, and it made me think I can do this.
And the awesome thing about Credit Sesame, it's free.
It's 100% free.
You don't need to go it alone. Get started today at creditsesame.com.
Once you get atrial fibrillation, you need to have a very close relationship with your primary doctor. Prevention is the whole ball game here, because once you have a stroke, you can't undo it. A year without stroke is a year that you can enjoy doing the things that you've worked all your life to finally get to do. You took care of yourself. You did what is necessary for you to be around one more year. And then next year, we'll celebrate one more year without a stroke.
Stay connected to your clients and new customers using ABC7 digital media services. Our team of professionals provide a wide array of digital services to help you get the most out of your website. We specialize in building and helping you maintain the most effective digital solutions for your business. It's vital that your online presence stands out, so our experts will equip you with the best resources available. Trust ABC7 digital media services to give you the right tools to grow your business.
A decade of war has taken an unprecedented toll on our men and women in uniform.
Hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war.
At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration.
Get involved and go to justiceforvets.org.
Help put treatment within reach of veterans in crisis.
Veterans fought for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for theirs.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004.
Me, pick me. Oh, come on, man. Oh, man, I love technology. Hey, yo, check out my new phone. Look at this right here. For years, the DeSoto Club has needed improvements. Join me and Boys and Girls Club of Manatee County as we raise money to build a brand new facility. It will be bigger and better, just like it was 40 years ago when I attended. Invest in kids. Build great futures.
Checking primetime headlines, Alice Johnson, the 63-year-old woman behind bars who gained the attention and support of Kim Kardashian West, just had her sentence commuted by the president. It comes on the heels of other high-profile pardon rumors coming out of the White House. ABC's Maggie Rulli has the latest.
A convicted grandmother with the backing of Kim Kardashian West has had her sentence commuted by President Trump. Her daughter on MSNBC is beyond words.
I mean, this is something that my family and we prayed for years. It's just surreal. It's amazing.
Alice Johnson will soon be released from federal prison at age 63 after serving more than 20 years of a life sentence for her part in a cocaine distribution ring. Kardashian West calls the commutation the best news ever, thanking the administration for the countless hours they've worked. Pardons and communications often take years with a thorough review process with the Department of Justice. But it was only last week that Kardashian West visited the president in the White House, personally advocating for Alice Johnson. Today's announcement comes as the president has been flexing his pardon power, last week granting one to conservative commentator and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza, then going further, considering pardons for two former Apprentice guests.
I'm looking for The Apprentice,
including Martha Stewart, convicted for obstructing justice and lying to investigators.
I'll do anything, right? Legal and ethical and honest.
And potentially commuting the sentence of former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, sentenced to 14 years on corruption charges. Raising the question, is the president sending a signal to former aides tied to the Russia investigation? The White House has denied that is the intent behind these pardons, saying each pardon should be judged on the merits. The White House says the president's currently considering nearly a dozen appeals for clemency, and that's on top of the 5 formal pardons he's already granted. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, New York.
Forbes releasing its top 100 paid athletes from the past year, and for the first time in 8 years, not a single woman made the list. The magazine expanded the list in 2010, and since then, at least one woman has been included. Boxer Floyd Mayweather reclaimed the top spot, earning $285 million over the past 12 months. Soccer players Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo were number 2 and 3, earning $111 million and $108 million respectively. Mixed martial arts fighter Conor McGregor came in at number 4 with $99 million. Serena Williams would have likely made the cut, but she had been off the court during her pregnancy and maternity leave. Facebook is teaming up with multiple media organizations to launch news programs on its Watch video service. The news organizations include ABC, CNN, and Fox News. Facebook will pay for the shows, which will appear exclusively on its platform. It's all part of the company's push to repair its relationship with the news industry and restore user trust after a number of misinformation and data privacy scandals. Today marks the 74th anniversary of World War II's pivotal D-Day invasion. On June 6, 1944, Allied forces stormed the beaches at Normandy, a turning point against Nazi troops. Historians have called D-Day the beginning of the end of the war. D-Day remains the largest amphibious invasion in history. It's estimated that roughly 10,000 Allied troops were killed, wounded, or missing in action on just that one day. Some new crew members are heading to NASA's International Space Station. They are American Dr. Serena Onion Chancellor, Russian cosmonaut Sergei Prokopyev, and German astronaut Alexander Gerst. The trio launched from Kazakhstan in the Russian Soyuz spacecraft at 7:12 Eastern Time this morning. They are scheduled to arrive at the ISS Friday morning. They will be greeted by 2 American astronauts and the Russian cosmonaut already there. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.